We are looking very much forward now to learn more about challenges and opportunities in another industrial major sector. And I'm very happy to introduce to you now the CEO of Siemens AG, one of the global major players when it comes to intelligent infrastructure, digitalization, automation, intelligent mobility solutions, as well as medical technologies. So I'm delighted to introduce to you Dr. Roland Busch. Please come on stage. Okay, so you can take a seat over here. So I suggest that we will have a short conversation here on stage, and then we're happy to take your questions if you like to. And for those who are joining us online, you may put questions as well. You can start sending them already now to us. So, Roland, you have been the CEO of Siemens for over a year now. It has been quite a turbulent time. The war in Ukraine, the consequences of the pandemic, we have seen changing markets, supply chain disruptions, raw material shortages, etc. So what would you say, what are three things that defined your first year?
Well, Astrid, I'm afraid there are more than three of them.
Yeah.
But I try to give you a quick summary of what's happening.
Due to the time, I gave you only three opportunities.
I know that. No, well, actually, when you start, the first thing is get your team together. And there were 3 board members leaving. I had a chance to replace them with 2 of them, so forming a team number 1. Getting straight on the strategy, because believe it or not, after 2017, when we IPO'd Siemens Healthcare, and after 2020, when we spun Siemens Energy, the transformation of Siemens just started. So it's just a start. So there's much, much more to do to align on strategy. And then came, and definitively when you talk about COVID and all the challenges, the first thing was taking care about people. So to make sure that they get vaccinated, they have a safe place, a safe environment. This is one thing. Secondly is then taking care for customers. In difficult times, so that we are up and running and keep a minimum amount of deliveries, the supply chain topics, really getting our supply chain straight, talk to suppliers. So there are a lot of things. And then this war happened, which puts another stress on top of it. So everything what we saw so far in terms of sustainable transformations, of trend for digitalization was accelerated through COVID. And they put another stress and acceleration with the war, just talking about resilience as an example. So it's a bunch of topics which you have to do. You have to do that concurrently, so kept us quite busy.
Mm-hmm. So that was quite busy last year, but over the past years, Siemens has undergone its biggest transformation in its history. You are celebrating the 175th anniversary very soon. So what's in your focus? How is your company positioned today?
So I'm now, since 12 years in the managing board. I was, each year we do a strategy. And after that, I was running the strategy before that. And what I learned, I saw so many strategies. What I learned is that some go right, some go wrong. But there's one thing where you might not fail, is when you align yourself and your strategy on what we call mega trends. Mm-hmm. These are things which are going on and on and on, and they give you tailwind. It might be 1 year good and 1 year bad, but overall they give you tailwind. So actually we have 4 plus 1 of them, and very quickly. Number 1 is decarbonization or climate change. I mean, this is just forgiven. It's not as Ola said, it's not a question what, but when, how. Number 2 is about urbanization. People are still moving to cities. COVID, regardless of COVID, puts a huge stress on infrastructure. Number 3 is aging societies. We're living in an aging society. We have less and less labor in the market. Even China has less labor. They peaked already in terms of labor. So this is a huge demand for automation digitalization, because if you want to grow with less and less people on the market, it's a huge challenge. The 4th one is Actually, we called it in the past globalization. Now we have to call it glocalization. So we still have a global market, we have trade, but we have to have a very much of a local touch into it for resilience reasons, geopolitical reasons. And the fifth one, which we added a couple of years ago, was digitalization. So now you have the answer to your question. We are aligning our company, number one, on these megatrends. Actually, what we are transforming the backbone of economies in industry, in infrastructure buildings, in mobility and healthcare. And we do that, and this is the second dimension, the technological dimension. It's about sustainable development and digital technologies. We are combining the real and the digital worlds in order to drive productivity, make things better, lasting longer, having an uptime, higher productivity, shorter cycle times. This is the big thing, which is, and Ola described it as well, when saying this digitalization is coming on top of what we talk about, electrical propulsion system. And this is the big challenge, but also the big opportunity, in particular for European countries, because we're coming from an industrial economy, and we can drive it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the energy sector, which is another major challenge. Germany is in the process of becoming less dependent on fossil fuels. The German government wants to accelerate the expansion of renewables. So the question is, how can companies achieve a lower carbon footprint, and what role does digitalization play? Ola Källenius pointed out the potential of digitalization, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to that also the government and the governance, because one of the topics which I would give as an answer is get a faster decision process in our economy to put wind power faster on the ground, or photovoltaic and so on. So the second is really taking responsibility as a company to really do the homework, what we need to do in order to be carbon neutral, and not only in your own operations, so scope 1 and 2, but also scope 3, upstream and downstream, which is a particular challenge on its own, where you have to use digitalization, because no company at this point in time, I have to say so, has a full transparency on the full supply chain, upstream and downstream, of what the footprint is, and not before that you can start reducing it. And this is where we are working on, also with colleagues from SAP, for example, to really think about how can we make it transparent and develop it then. And then you have to go for new technologies as well. Talking about the hydrogen, this is a completely, it's not only new technologies, but it's also the way how you scale it, how you deploy it, how is your business model behind. It's the full 9 yards. And here, my strong advice is also, in order to be fast, don't wait until the electron comes as a green electron into your electrolyzers. You can work with a gray or even a red electron too. Red comes from power plants, nuclear power plants. So, but you can, because with that you can start right away in doing a lot what you can do later, and then with each new photovoltaic module you can replace it. So it's a lot of things which have to happen in parallel, and there will be winners and losers. Absolutely. I mean, the oil and gas market, it will go down, others will go up, and which is another transformation on its own, where companies have to make their transformations, otherwise they are going to be irrelevant in the future.
So what we need is open technology, a government who is open for these kinds of new
Very good point. In principle, what you say is, if you subsidies, if you push something, make it technology neutral, the market will sort it out. This is the best way to do. I would make an exception if there are new technologies and you will push them to the next level, to scale up, for example. That's fine for a while to help, but we should not forget ramping the subsidies down in order to let the market do what the market has to do.
Okay, in regard to the time, I would give you the opportunity to put questions. Just raise your hand. We've got microphones here, and also the online audience. You may put questions. You can send them to me, and I pass them forward if you want to. Okay, there's somebody over there raising his hand. Quickly pass the mic. Could you briefly introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me or not really?
Yes.
Yes.
Now it works. Excellent. So my name is Niels. I'm also in transformation, basically, so I'm quite happy to be here for this topic. Ola mentioned the why is clear. You just mentioned the what is pretty clear, aligning your strategy with megatrends. Now, I have a pretty direct question. You don't have to answer it. If you could change one thing within Siemens to get there faster, what would that be?
Culture. This is when I laid out. I talked about defining the strategy of the company. We came up with just 4 strategic levers and priorities. One is, of course, the customer. We call it customer impact, to really put a much stronger focus on the market rather than on having. Our people always believe we have the best technology in the world. I don't know why people don't buy it. You have to put a more focus on customers. The second is technology. We do have the best technology, but we can do even better. And there were 2 more elements, and coming now to your question, Niels. It is empowerment and growth mindset. Empowerment is one way to really leverage the capabilities which you have in the company. It's no way to have a fast and agile organization if a decision has to go all the way up and down to the managing board for each and every small decision. It cannot work. It didn't work for COVID crisis management either, where we gave a lot of freedom to our local management, to our local responsibles. So this is one thing. And the other one is growth mindset. Growth mindset stands for lifelong learning, for learning from failures, for dare to do mistakes and learn from them and correct them. Why I'm saying so? Because in times of transformation, in times of disruptive changes, if you analyze the economies and the markets, you will find very rare exceptions where the incumbents succeeded after this transformation. We have a lot of Xerox, Kodak, you name it, also Siemens, our ESMT, our communication systems. We missed the point. And there's one reason, of course, people are saying, yeah, we didn't have the right technologies. That's fine. I would add two more. One is the go-to-market, your sales force, and the third one is culture. If you're not ready to disrupt yourself, to really change things and changes dramatically, in times of transformation, you do it fast, even if it hurts, even you're cutting into your profit pools as of today, you have to do that. So culture would be the answer to your question. And we're working on it.
Yeah. I guess many people will agree to what you say. There is somebody raising his hand over there. Please pass the mic. Okay.
Dr. Busch, thank you for your talk and the answer to the previous question. I wanted to ask, first of all, my name is Oleg Falkov. I am alumnus from ESMT Berlin. I wanted to ask you a question about energy security in Europe and the transformation that Siemens is doing right now. We obviously know that there is an ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe right now, and lately one of the developments is that there is a problem with the Nord Stream 1 due to the inability to overcome the Canadian sanctions to return, as Gazprom says, the Siemens turbine back to them to start to increase the capacity of gas transport into European Union. I wanted to ask you, in the short term and the long term, with regards to this specific example, could you share what is Siemens doing specifically to help transition into renewable and not rely on gas supplies from Eastern Europe, as well as just not to endanger the households in Germany and European Union to have increased energy prices?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Well, in short terms.
Yeah.
I might answer now from the perspective of Siemens as well as Siemens Energy, where we still hold 35%. So Siemens Energy is very clear. I mean, number one is there's currently, I would say, put it that way, there's no reason why there should not be gas flowing through Nord Stream 1 also with 100% capacity. So this is one thing. Point is very clear. I do believe that we need a transition period. Gas is still, we still need some kind, one way or the other gas. The other one is driving renewables as fast as possible, driving the costs out, develop new technologies, which is larger and larger and more efficient turbines. I think we are on our way. There's a couple of more elements which are coming into it. If you want to go green, you have to go electric. Whatever you power with photovoltaic or renewables comes as an electron in the first place. So the electrification of our value chain in the energy sector is something which I have a certain concerns. And now it's the transmission lines from north to south, but in particular the distribution systems. They are completely underinvested. And if somebody of you tries to install a charging station in your home, and you go to your distribution systems operator, he tells you maybe 3 kilowatt or 5, but not 10, and for sure not 20 or 5 of them. So it's a huge challenge. The next one is what we definitively oversee is any kind of energy efficiency. Driving that from the end. Each kilowatt hour you don't consume at the end doesn't require feeding in 3 of them at the beginning. So and then the next one is talking about technologies. I do believe also there's no way around going into any kind of storing renewable energy, which is, we talk about hydrogen / power to X, any kind of liquid, ammoniac or methanol. Because you will not send a plane over the ocean on a battery. Neither would you send a vessel from Australia to Hamburg on a battery. So this is another element, and it costs money, it costs efficiency, but we have to start right away and develop it. There's no silver bullet for this transformation. Currently, the silver bullet is oil, well, gas / Now you have to go for many more different things what you have to do, and that's a challenge what we have. But again, it's also a tremendous opportunity. Last point is the whole thing has to be supported by a digital infrastructure, as Ola said. You're combining so many different things. You're having a photovoltaic in your rooftop, you have a battery storage, you have different sources. How to manage it in a proper way. It will be a tremendous digitalization of your whole system. Think about the grid, for example, and the like.
Well, Roland, it's fascinating listening to you. And as a journalist, I would love to put hundreds of questions, but in regard to time, I'm afraid that we must stop at this point. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your vision with us, and giving a short, wonderful outlook and, well, an insight into what you're doing. Thank you so much, Dr. Roland Busch.
Thank you. Thank you.